Well, St. Louis police are investigating a string of armed robberies this weekend. Some of the crimes may be connected. Two of the armed robberies happened last night in the Central West End. They were within blocks of each other and about 40 minutes apart. In each case, a group of 4 to 5 suspects approached the victims, pointed a gun, and demanded property. Anyone with information is asked to call Crime Stoppers.